What's up, business heroes? We woke up to some snow. As you can see, everything is incredibly white and snowy. So for those of you who live in warm places of the world, I'm sorry, we got our beautiful snow. Hey, what I want to talk to you guys about today is what inspires you. I want to talk about like what is it that inspires you to be creative in your field, whatever it may be, whether you're an artist, podcaster, video creator, lawyer, small business owner, whatever it is. So I gotta tell you one thing, this inspires me. I feel when this happens, I feel like Peter McKinnon. Growing up as a kid, a California guy, when stuff like this happens, I definitely start to feel some inner Peter McKinnon-ness. I just feel like I've got to bundle up and get out and go record a video. So let's go do that.
Hey, we putting on a show, trying to catch a vibe. We do this every time, like na 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 na. Feeling like I'm on the highway, cause everything been going my way. And now they looking at me sideways. I'm like na 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 na. This is where I wanna be, na na na. Never ever gonna leave.
Look at this, it's beautiful. Now I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. There's plenty of people who absolutely hate this weather. But again, growing up in Southern California, this is fantastic. It's like being in a movie. It like, it inspires me. It makes me want to get out, create some content, come make some videos for you guys. What inspires you guys? Okay, so maybe getting out and recording videos in the snow isn't your thing. For me, it really ties back. It's not just the snow. I already mentioned the Peter McKinnon thing. And part of that's Casey as well, watching them do their snow videos. But a big part of it for me is my early days when I first tricked my parents into buying me my first little mini DV camcorder, getting out and just wanting, we always call it production value. That was like our most overused word. We just were like, anything that could make our videos cooler, we just call it production value. So like if I told the story about being at the high school campus with my sister, and we'd lived down the valley, and that game, her volleyball game was up in the mountains, which was funny. I actually ended up moving to that town about 10 years later. And the high school campus was so different than what me and my friends were used to, because we're used to just a big flat school campus. And this was, oh my gosh, you guys, you gotta see this, hold on. And this campus was in the mountains, so there was different levels, drop-offs, buildings were separated. It was really cool. And I remember that's why I shot that little, I was like, I can't let this production value slip by without doing something. Okay, so when it comes to, sorry, it keeps my face warm. So when it comes to this idea of being inspired or creativity and whatnot, and again, creativity doesn't mean you're painting a picture or something like that. It could be, I think I mentioned legal, right? The creative strategies that you're able to do to help your clients and to think of things like that. Like my dad used to be highway patrol, he's retired now. And when he'd go to court, the prosecuting attorneys always loved him because he basically would make their case, because he knew he had a gift, he had a creativity with it of arranging the facts and pointing out the specific details and a way to appeal to the jury and whatnot. So it doesn't have to be just like, oh, I'm gonna paint a picture or something like that. But here's the thing, how do you stay creative? How do you stay inspired? Like, inspiration isn't something you can just take a pill for, right? Or listen to a podcast. Maybe it motivates you or something, but it's like, how do you get in that area? How do you stay in that area? My face is freezing off. Okay, so I just finished this book that was recommended to me by Cliff Ravenscraft. Actually, he recommended a different book to me, and while I was reading that book, he kept talking about this book, so I went ahead and read it as well. It's called The Big Leap, and I was expecting it to be something completely different. I thought it was gonna be about like going and following your dreams, because he said that like it's like he read that book back when he was the podcast answer man, and then within, I think he said 2 weeks after reading that book, he shut down all of his podcast answer man stuff, and he went and started up the mindset answer man and started his coaching programs, and just stopped all of his income and started with the coaching thing. So I thought it was gonna be more about that, kind of like John Acuff's quitter, but it wasn't. It was actually about like our upper limits, and how like, and essentially the gist of it is we'll have an upper limit, and when we hit our upper limit of like happiness, we self-sabotage essentially. So that part was really fascinating and interesting. But one of the things he talked about is your areas of genius. And so he talked about how you have, and I heard Cliff talking about this as well. And he even talked to me about this in one of our calls. And he was talking about like the difference between your area of genius, or I'm going to forget the phrases now, aren't I? So your area of expertise and your like area of genius, right? And so the whole idea is like, and I may be getting those phrases wrong. I don't think so. I think it's area of genius and area of expertise. And it's the idea of like, so for example, it can be something that you really enjoy, your area of like, most people are operating out of their area of expertise. And it's this thing to where they enjoy it, and they're really good at it. They have the expertise in it, but it's not necessarily the thing that lights them up, lights them on fire, gets them going, right? It's just something they're really good at, and it's typically something that's marketable, so they fall into it as their job or whatnot. Versus their area of genius is the thing that not only are they good at, and maybe they're not even that good at it yet, but it's the thing that they love, and they can get into what's called Einstein time. And this idea that like when you get into like, or typically I've heard it referred to more as like the flow. So you get into like a flow, and you can work for hours, you forget to eat. You work for 8 hours, and it feels like it's only been like an hour. You work 10 hours a day. This is what Gary Vee talks about all the time, how he puts in these 12 to 15 hour days, because he talks about how like to him, like his business is his hobby. And so he just is fortunate enough, there'd be like another guy going out and fishing or golfing for 10 plus hours a day, and how that would seem easy for them. And so it's this idea of like, if you're working on things that, first off, I want to address something. If you're working, because a lot of us actually find our place in this area where we're working on things we're not good at. And I think that that drops down to like an area of like competence, right? Like, yeah, you can technically do it, but it's not really your best thing. So like for me, scheduling and administrative type stuff, I mean, I'd argue that might even be my area of incompetence, but it's not like, I can get it done, but it's going to take me all day to fill out a registration form with some basic information. I remember way back in the day when I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was like, well, I'll follow my dad's footsteps, and I applied for the highway patrol. I did super well, like on every phase except for one. Like I remember when I got like the top 20% of our testing in the classes. I passed the physical. I did everything. I even passed the colorblind test, which I'm colorblind, so I don't even know how I did that. I went in and I passed the colorblind test, and the doctor said, you're not colorblind. And I'm like, every other eye doctor would disagree with you. And still to this day, I'm colorblind. I can't tell the difference between certain colors. For my son's birthday, I brought home, I'm like, hey, birthday hats. I'm like, I get the gray one. And they're like, that's green. I'm like, whatever, don't tell me. It's gray to me, I want it. So, but I got to the phase where we had to fill out this information packet. It was like all of our background check information, personal information, why we want to do it, all this kind of stuff. And I didn't want to do it, right? Like, I don't want to sit there and fill out this huge packet. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. I don't want to do this. So I waited and I had like a month and a half, and I waited until like 2 days before, and I just knocked it out in like probably like an hour and a half session. And when I got in the interview, the guy like ripped me a new one. He was like, this is disrespectful to the badge, you want to be highway patrol, but he's like, you didn't even to put the time into this. He's like, look, he's like, you can easily get in. Like, he's like, I'm going to reject you. I'm rejecting this. He's like, but go back, you got to go back to the next step, get the packet again, fill it again. He said, put in 12 to 15, 20 hours on this thing, not the 2.5 that you said you spent. And then when it comes back before me, I'll approve it when I see that you did that. And he's like, I'm rejecting this just for the fact that, like, I'm offended that you didn't put all you could into this. But then for me, I walked away because, again, my dad was a highway patrol, so I knew a lot of what they do is reports. And I know that when he became the guy for a small period of time in between two other positions, when he became the guy who basically had to correct and send back reports, him kind of complaining about, like, oh, none of them do their reports right, I'm being a little fatalistic here, but essentially, talking about, like, them not doing their reports well, not putting pride and respect in their reports. I'm like, yeah, I don't want a life of that. I was like, I don't want to spend my life being that guy who sends in these illegible reports that he, like, oh, I have a stack of reports because I haven't been doing this, I've been putting it off. Oh, let me spend like 3 hours today and try to get caught up on the next 3 months of this. And then they're like, Elrod, I can't even read this. Like, what is this garbage? So again, I knew that, okay, look, I'd gotten through all but the last step, right? If I'd passed that step, there was only one other step after that, which is, like, I think, like, them actually doing the background check, which I would have easily passed the background check. I didn't have anything in my record. I was a boring kid. Oh, we got a snowplow coming. Let's give that a second for the audio. It's so loud. It's an angry snowplow. There he goes again. I was almost started, but I'm like, no. And then if he turns left and... Oh, he's going right. I was like, if he turns left, it's just going to start again. Okay, so back to this book and what I was kind of going through it. And this is something, like, I've kind of internally always known. Like, this is something I've said even back, like, when I first got into youth ministry and I was in, like, small churches. And they were like, I remember thinking, like, if you look at my job description, this is like 6 people. And I was in these small, because I was just starting out, so I'd be in these small churches. And I'm like, and they want to grow and they want to grow. And I'm like, how are you ever going to grow when you, as the pastor, which is essentially, the leader of the organization, you've got, like, the jobs of, like, 8 to 12 people. Like, it's unrealistic of what, like, you think you're going to be able to do. And then you hired me on and you want me to do almost as much. And I'm like, at the time I was like 24, 25. I think my first position, like my home church I worked at and whatnot, but, like, my first position, I was like 23 or 24. And it's like, how am I don't even know this stuff. Like, I don't have the life experience for this. Now, again, I didn't verbalize it quite that way. He's back. Anyways, and I'm like, this is kind of insane. Like, you're never going to grow. Like, this is not going to happen. Like, and the thing is too, it's not even like we weren't even working on areas of genius. It was like we're constantly, just because things had to get done, we were constantly working in areas of either expertise or just competence. And again, I would argue even incompetence. He's literally coming back. He already came this way. Okay, I want to wrap this up before he comes back a third time. So I want to just encourage you, if you're feeling uninspired, if you're feeling, like whatever your job's version of writer block is, if you're feeling stuck in something, to relook at that, to relook at this idea of, what am I trying to say? Oh yeah, of what is you're doing. And if you write out what you're doing on a daily and a weekly basis, are those things your areas of genius, or are those things your area of just expertise, or even just competence, where you're like, I'm not even the best person for this job. This is a 3-hour job and it takes me 2.5 days, right? So that could be draining you versus you working on the things you truly love. Sorry, just keep an eye on that guy. And then the other thing too is he talked about, and again, I don't know if this was The Big Leap or if this was The Prosperous Coach, which is a book Cliff actually told me to read. But the concept of talking about, like, just, oh, I don't feel like it today, right? They talk about a truck driver. Well, they were talking, that was the example. They're talking about the idea of having, like, a destination and having a goal. I think this was Prosperous Coach. But it kind of applies here with, like, motivation and stuff. And they said, like, truck drivers don't deal with lack of motivation, right? They have a purpose. I have to get the product, the shipment, to the place, and they have a destination. The place is XYZ Sesame Street, right? don't know why that's what came to my mind. At least I didn't say Pee-wee's Playhouse, right? So they just, every day, they just get up, they get in their truck. If they stop at a truck stop, they stop at a rest stop somewhere to sleep, take a shower, eat, whatever. When they get back in the truck, they don't go, what do I feel like I want to do in my business now? No, they get in the truck, they start their engine, and then they start driving. And they just keep doing it until the job is done, and then they have their next job. So I just want to encourage some of you, you could have a problem, your problem with lack of inspiration and not wanting to actually do the work you know you need to do on your business could be, one, you're stuck in all these, maybe you just need to hire someone, hire an accountant to do your bookkeeping and your payroll, hire a virtual assistant to do maybe you love recording and interviewing podcasts and stuff, but you hate actually like looking up the people's name and sending the emails and scheduling. Hire a virtual assistant or someone to do that for you, right? And get back into your zone. There we go, zone of genius. What was I saying? Area of genius? I think it's zone of genius. Anyways, get back in that zone of genius and focus on those things that only you can do, right? And the things that you're also, not just only you can do. I think Peter Drucker talked about there's like 3 lists, and there's like the things that like only you can do, like the things you shouldn't do, and in the middle are like the things you could do, but you know, you can also hand off to someone else. And he talked about those different lists. So like start focus on that. Also, the second tip is the whole idea of like have a purpose, like know where you want to go. So in the Prosperous Coach, something that stood out to me that was really helpful is it talked about like, oh, if you're starting a coach and like you don't have anyone and it's like, oh, how do I find someone to coach? What do I do? They gave the assignment of looking for 7 no's. That was it. Go try to have 7 conversations and get 7 no's from 7 different people who say no to your coaching. Because the whole Prosperous Coach book is about coaching and group masterminds and stuff like that. So it's like, don't worry about trying to get your first paid, mastermind or coaching client. Worry about getting 7 no's. And I was like, oh, that almost makes it like a game. It makes it so much easier. And it gives you a path to get on, right? Like it gives you that path. So whatever you need to do, maybe you've got like a gallery showing coming up, or you have a book that you want to write. Yesterday I talked about my buddy's Fred's book, right? I know he's been working that book for a couple years. He had this goal that he was working on. He talked to me about it probably 2 years ago. I think he talked to me about it I think he was finishing his first draft and was going to start, getting revisions and the publishing process and all that kind of stuff. That takes time, but he had a goal. He wasn't just like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write on whenever I feel like and whatever I feel like. And maybe in a couple years, it'll all come together and be a book and maybe it'll sell. No, that's not what he did. He had a plan. He's like, I'm going to write a book about this, and this is going to be my writing schedule, and this is what I'm going to do to get it done. And he did it. So with that, come up with your plan. Get rid of as many of those things as you can. I know we can't always do that, like certain jobs you just have to do all this kind of stuff, but maybe figure out a way to batch it, or something, right? Go read Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week, and you'll be surprised at how easy it is to actually offload some of this stuff. Even if you just have a little bit of money or no money at all, there's ways you can be more productive, right? And then get to those areas of genius, guard that time, or if you're a night person, a morning person, whatever it may be, and get those core things done and find that path. I like to reverse engineer things. So I like to know where I'm going and then how to get there. It's how we work with directions, and it's the opposite of, we don't do that. Okay, here's the last tip. I know I just kind of cut myself off there, but my brain switched because I remembered this. This was super helpful for me. I remember one year when I first started Business Heroes, and I had written out my yearly goals, but then I was looking at this was right after I got an office and I was feeling good that I had some office space, and I was talking to Ariel Hall from AppSumo at the time. She was still the community manager, and we'd gotten off like a group kind of coaching call, and I messaged her. She's like, how's your day going, or how's your week, or whatever. And I was like, I'm realizing I'm looking at my daily to-do list. I'm looking at my daily to-do list for the last several weeks, and they're not lining up with my yearly goals. And I remember she was like, oh, that's powerful. And she went on and she talked about that in I think the next thing. But this idea of how you can't just say, I want XYZ, you're like, oh, here's my New Year's resolution, and not take those small steps every week, every month, every week, every day. So you gotta find some time. You gotta carve some space out. Whatever your daily to-do list method is, you're gonna have to find a way to integrate those things. And so it can be big, right? If you're like, oh, I want to lose 100 pounds. break down, what is it going to take? Oh, I want to save $1,000. Break those things down. Like, what is it going to take to get there? What are the smaller steps? What are the actions you need to take? What is the vehicle that's going to get you there? For example, if you want to lose 100 pounds, and how you're going to do it is you're going to work out 5 days a week. Okay, what's that vehicle? Are you going to go buy a new pair of running shoes and some, and you're going to go run every morning? Are you going to get a gym membership? You need a vehicle. You're not just going to accidentally work out 5 days a week. What's the vehicle that's going to get you there? Gym membership, running every day. Like you got to come up with that, right? If you want to make $1 million, what's that vehicle? Is it going to be stock investments? You're going to go open an account and start day trading? Is it going to be a business you're going to start? You're going to start freelancing? So, and then reverse engineer, what is it going to take? Now that you know where you want to go, now that you have a vehicle, broken it down, you have the vehicle to get there. Okay, now what do I need to do? Like, when do I need to have this by? If this is the first milestone, okay, I need to have this. Okay, it's halfway through January. I need to have this by April. And you start okay, what do I need to do from now until April? And you can start making your monthly goals and your weekly goals, and then you can come up with your daily tasks. If you have a day job or a business that you're busy in and you're trying to do a new thing, it can be as simple as like, okay, I normally have a to-do list of 10 things or 6 things or 3 things. Take a small portion of that and make it be your business or that goal, right? So if you have a list, I like to follow the 6 things a day to do this. I remember reading something about it or hearing about it, and I was like, oh yeah, that works. And so it's like, okay, if you have your 6 things a day that you do, maybe take those last 2, maybe only put 4 a day that you're doing, figure out a way to, get rid of the rest. And then take those 2 and start putting on every day. Another thing that John Acuff talked about is he would get up early. So he'd go into his office like 2 hours early every day to do his blog posts. So maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you need to get into some Gary Vee territory here, but maybe you need to stop watching as much stuff or stop sitting at night for 2-3 hours and just on social media or playing video games or whatever it is. And maybe either spend that time working on your business or go to bed early and then get up early and work on your business or your health or your whatever your goal is. So that's it. That's my 2 cents. And then I'm going to find a new location so I can add in that little spice of that creativity and then pitch you on going in and subscribing to the podcast. All right. Speaking of goals and destinations. So I'm here at the playground and I want to go to there. And while I'm doing it, I want to convince you guys to go subscribe to my podcast on your favorite flavor of podcast subscription services. Pardon my eyeline as I look down because I'm going through some treacherous area here. Apple Podcast, I guess just iTunes, whatever they're calling it now. Spotify, any of those things, go there and search Nate Ideas, and that is my podcast. I've been posting semi-regularly, and I'm about ready to kick it up to super regularly. Mondays are going to be my once a week, my big check-in on the whole diary of the business type thing, but then I'll be posting other stuff in there as well. Also, if you like the show, I've changed it from the vlog to the show because I realized I haven't been very vloggy. So if you like the show, but you don't get to watch a ton of episodes, this is me with my favorite guys, because it's hard to sit and just watch a video. I will be dumping the audio over there so you can also listen to the show. And yeah, you can go on your walks, you can go work out at the gym, you can drive to work, and you can listen to the show over there, as well as the weekly business check-ins. And we're gonna be starting the Business Heroes podcast here pretty soon, and that's going to be interviews with business owners like yourself and cool people like Mr. Ravenscraft. I'm going to try to get on. Next time I talk to him, I'm going to ask him to be a guest. We'll see how that goes. He's pretty busy, so we'll see. All right, guys, go subscribe. See you tomorrow. Oh wait, I won't see you tomorrow because tomorrow's Sunday, and if you saw that video, I'm not making videos on Sundays anymore. So I'm daily. The show is daily, 6 days a week. So I'll see you guys on Monday for the business update.